Donald Trump was having a meltdown at 12:40 a.m. as Iran issued another fatal warning. Donald Trump posting on social media at 12:40 a.m. that he will be hunting down people he says are involved in treason by going to the press to say that the United States is out of Patriot interceptors, THAAD interceptors, ATACMS, and Navy destroyers and other critical military equipment such that Donald Trump is unable to escalate his catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran. Donald Trump at 12:40 a.m. posting, the U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types. Yes, very specific, of certain types. Additionally, large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the United States as needed. Shipped to the United States? Didn't you say you brought all of the manufacturing back in the United States? Oh, so we need it from other countries? Okay, go on. Defense companies are building the largest number of plants and factories in our country's history. Well, your sentence before that seems to contradict that. Oh, wait a minute. You lie about everything. Then he goes on to say, the leakers, and he puts that in quotes, of these treasonous statements are being hunted down. Long-term jail sentences will be sought. DJT. Just think about it. The President of the United States at 12:40 a.m. after threatening to blow the effing S out of Iran and then backing down because the United States ran out of weapons, now is saying he will be hunting down the leakers because they're involved in treason when Donald Trump and Netanyahu got us into this catastrophic and unlawful war 6 months ago that Donald Trump said was going to end in days. And then Donald Trump proceeded to lie every day and claim he's having fake negotiations with Iran, which was utterly humiliating. Meanwhile, Iran's deputy foreign minister issuing the warning and saying the following: the United States is basically begging us, is what Iran's foreign minister Garbabadi said. The United States sent a message requesting negotiations and a resolution of issues approximately 4 or 5 days after the start of the new round of conflict. Any agreement regarding the Strait of Hormuz should only be between Iran and Oman. We will not accept any foreign interference in the Strait of Hormuz. With the implementation of the new agreement, existing temporary routes in the Strait of Hormuz will be closed. A significant portion of the routes for ships entering and exiting Iranian territorial waters will pass through. So Iran is working out this deal with Oman, where Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Iran can toll in the Strait of Hormuz, and Donald Trump wants to try to take credit for the Iranian deal with Oman, and Iran is saying, if you try to send your tankers through the route that we don't approve, we're not involved in a ceasefire with you, Donald. We will not hesitate to shoot your tankers. And indeed, Iran has been shooting tankers in the Strait of Hormuz as recently as the past 12 hours. The Houthis in Yemen have been shooting at Saudi tankers and other tankers that have not been following its instructions in the Bab el-Mandab Strait in the Red Sea. I mean, just take a look at what went down again in the past 12 hours. The UK MTO, the UK Maritime Organization, received a report about a tanker getting struck right by Oman in that southern route where the U.S. and CENTCOM encourage tankers to go, where Iran basically blows up all of the tankers that don't follow the IRGC instructions. A tanker was just hit there. Let's go take a look at the Bab el-Mandab Strait, shall we? Because there you have the Houthis making the following announcement. The Houthis announced that they targeted the Saudi oil tanker Wafa with an undisclosed number of missiles in the northern Red Sea off the coast of Yanbu, marking the 8th Saudi Arabian oil tanker targeted and the total number of Saudi tankers diverted since July 22nd to the 29th. The statement is significant because it explicitly expands the Houthis' targeting to include Saudi tankers operating in the northern Red Sea. Let's take a look. Are there any other UK MTO notices? Indeed, there are additional ones. The UK MTO, United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations, has issued an advisory after yet another attack, this time by Muka in Yemen as well, and then by Aden, Yemen, another Houthi strike right there. Strike after strike after strike. And meanwhile, we're also learning how Iran warned Gulf states that any new U.S. attack on its territory would trigger massive retaliation against the infrastructure, the critical infrastructure across the region, according to 5 sources that spoke to Reuters. As Tehran says, we know the United States is out of interceptors, the THAAD and the Patriots, the PAC-3s. We know that you're out of Navy destroyer SM-2, SM-3, SM-6 anti-ballistics. We know that. I mean, we've heard what General Grinkowicz, the U.S. NATO allied commander in Europe, has to say. We know you're out. We are able to strike the U.S. bases with impunity, is what Iran says. We can see through the satellite footage that the U.S. has abandoned its bases in the region. And so Iran says, we will continue to escalate these costs until you submit. Until you ensure that we have control of the Strait of Hormuz, we're not acknowledging your fake deals, right? I mean, you had Treasury Secretary Bessent the other day saying, we're doing a deal in 2 or 3 days. Trust me, the deal's about to be done. We're going to announce it. And it's just more market manipulation from Bessent. Meanwhile, Iran's Assembly of Experts, that's the main organization in Iran that picks the Ayatollah and supervises the Ayatollah. The Iran Assembly of Experts said the following: the wise, insightful, hopeful, and dignified messages of the leader of the revolution provides direction and guidance for the honorable people of Iran and the Islamic nation, and must remain at the forefront of the country's official considerations. Trusting the arrogant U.S. government is nothing more than a mirage. Placing hope in reaching an understanding or agreement with this bullying regime will lead nowhere. Any action aimed at securing the nation's rights must be carried out within the framework of the leader's view, guidance, and strategic decisions. Then you've got Donald Trump going on his social media platform, posting only Trump with one of the bronze statues that is now gilded gold. And Trump says, so beautiful, DC is better than ever. Tender, loving care. More from Iran's deputy minister, Garbabadi. He talks about how specifically the route will work in the Strait of Hormuz. A significant portion of the ship's entry and exit routes will pass through Iranian territorial waters. According to the understanding reached with Oman, the northern route, which was established near Lark Island, and the southern route, which is in Omani internal waters, will be closed, as these were completely temporary routes. If this new understanding that is being formed between Iran and Oman, with those requirements met, enters the implementation phase, this new route will be implemented for the passage of ships. A significant part of this new route is located in Iranian territorial waters, and part of it is in Omani territorial waters. That is, it is designed in such a way that commercial ships will always pass through Iranian territorial waters on both the way in and out. In other words, Iran is saying, we control the Strait of Hormuz. And if you try to move tankers, we're not afraid. And we've seen these multiple strikes by Iran continuing to hit tankers. The other day, Iran struck a U.S. base in Kuwait. The other day, we believe the Houthis striking in Dubai, although right now the UAE says, it was just a random factory explosion. It wasn't actually, any strikes. And so Iran has not backed down, and Iran also sees what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, latest story from the New York Times, just the amount of money Donald Trump continues to waste as he bankrupts our military. So not only are we running out of the THAAD and the Patriot interceptors and the SM-2, SM-3, SM-6 anti-ballistics on those Navy destroyers, but Trump has now spent close to $300 billion or $275 billion on a new class of warships called the Trump class of warships, which now cost 50% more than expected, and that's probably lowballing it as well. It'll probably be significantly more than that. And so Trump said that he liked the way the ships looked right around between World War I and World War II, and he doesn't like our stealth ships, he doesn't like aircraft carriers, and he doesn't like submarines. He wants to build battleships because he likes the way battleships work. So he wants nuclear battleships. and that we are now spending $300 billion of our taxpayer dollars to build Trump battleships. I kid you not. That's what these MAGA Republicans approved as well with their disastrous budgets. And guess what? In today's day of warfare, where you have unmanned submersives, where you have FPV drones, where you have these Shahed-style drones, and the variations of that are used in the United States and Ukraine and elsewhere, drone warfare is the way of the future. And so why would you be building a battleship that it just takes a few unmanned submersives to destroy at this point? It's just a waste of money, but that's who Donald Trump is. Also, Iran is watching as, you hear stories of Trump's incompetence almost leading to him being killed the other day. That's right. Trump almost got killed the other day in a helicopter crash. A helicopter carrying Donald Trump flew right near a passenger jet in Washington airspace. Remember how at the beginning of the Trump regime, there was the horrific plane crash into the helicopter? Well, Marine One, the helicopter that ferries Donald Trump, came less than a mile. It was actually 0.8 miles of an envoy air flight on Tuesday, raising concerns about air traffic control in the congested area. Marine One was unable to get in touch with air traffic control at the local airport, and the planes came within 0.8 miles. For all the pilots out there, you know that the loss of separation warning is really dangerous at 1.5 miles in lateral distance, especially the speed at which planes go and the distance it can go in a very short period of time. So being 0.8 miles away was actually a very, very close call. And Iran's just watching the level of incompetence. They're like, he's afraid we're going to kill him. Dude's going to kill himself based on his own incompetence at this point. A few other things I want to point out, and I'll be doing other videos on this. A new Washington Post article talks about how Trump and Hegseth clashed at that Camp David meeting over the lack of interceptors and the Patriot interceptors, the THAAD interceptors, and the anti-ballistics on the Navy destroyers, and the ATACMS and those HIMARS that have been used. And so this is one of the areas that Donald Trump is freaking out over, that this information has gotten out. And Iran knows we're out of weapons. That's why Trump's like, we're hunting you down. We're hunting you down. And so at the Camp David meeting, according to the story, Donald Trump was yelling at Hegseth, we thought you had the interceptor situation under control. Why is Dan Kane the chairman of the Joint Chiefs? And generals like General Grinkowicz and others saying that we don't have weapons. We're out of weapons. We're out of interceptors. And Hegseth apparently blames Stephen Feinberg, his deputy. He was like, it's Feinberg's fault. He did it. He did it. And then the whole Trump regime's like, this is fake news. Washington Post is lying. There's nothing true about this at all. There's nothing true about this at all. Okay. Now, as Donald Trump continues to panic late at night, as Iran issues the fatal warning that it will control the Strait of Hormuz and that it will not tolerate any U.S. Involvement in the Strait of Hormuz at all. And Iran made good on it. It struck multiple tankers. I know this isn't being reported, and all that gets reported in the U.S. is the market manipulation of Besant. Oh, we're about to make a deal. We're about to make all those lies that manipulated the market at the beginning of this week. But the reality is that the war's going on, and we're getting all this disinformation in the United States, and tankers are being hit, and Iran is striking our bases because we invaded them. The United States and Israel invaded them, and Netanyahu. So of course they're going to defend themselves. And so while all of that's going on, Nikki Haley surfaced. Nikki Haley posted the following: U.S. national debt nears $40 trillion, hits record 124% of GDP. U.S. public debt has climbed to a record $39.8 trillion, leaving it just $200 billion shy of the historic $40 trillion mark. And then she says, in the next 2 weeks, our country will hit $40 trillion in debt. It's one of the biggest problems facing young Americans right now. Yet politicians in Washington and around the country aren't even discussing it. We're leaving an entire generation broke. We're discussing it. You know who's not discussing it? Your cult, Nikki Haley, your sicko MAGA cult. You know why? Because your Führer, Donald Trump, is responsible for close to 40% of that debt. Didn't you all say that Doge was going to stop this and Project 2025 was going to stop all of this? No, y'all are not fiscal conservatives. You're not fiscal hawks. You are the most reckless, most irresponsible individuals handling money and debt. You're the least conservative. That term is BS. It has no meaning. You're the least fiscally responsible people. Your party, Trump, Bush, Reagan, y'all are the people who are caused all of this debt. It's actually been Democratic presidents who have lowered it. That's an objective damn fact right there. But MAGA Republicans just care about manipulating the market, making their rich friends richer. And we get this great story from the Wall Street Journal, Philip Wegman and Nick Tamaris. Scoop: Trump speaks repeatedly with the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Kevin Warsh, over the phone. Since Warsh became chairman of the Federal Reserve, maintaining a line of communication between the president and a central bank chief that has little recent precedent, how about has no precedent at all? Trump now sees Warsh as a valued outside economic advisor. This is some third world banana republic stuff right here. Their continued conversations are a sharp departure from how Fed Chairman Jerome Powell handled Trump and former President Biden. Yeah, because it's supposed to be independent. It's supposed to be independent. That's why. The relationship is more similar to that of Clinton and Greenspan. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is more similar to like Javier Milei. This is more similar to like Bukele. It's more similar to how Orban did things. And that's not what the markets want to see here in the United States. Let me be that's not, for long-term sustainability. They're just going to manipulate the markets in the short term and then screw over all the future generations with this abhorrent behavior. Anyway, we'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.